Broadcasting from the #1 happiest, healthiest city in the USA, today we're delighted to welcome Patrick Byrne and all my viewers in 168 countries around the globe who believe in freedom. I've always had a thing for Dartmouth men. He's taking on the deep state, he's taking on the Davos men, he's taking on the Bilderberg men, he's taking on everyone in Washington who's been paid off by these leaders. Happy Christmas, happy miracles, and we have a great show today. Sandra Rupp was placed on the Thinkers 50 radar list for the world's top business thinkers. He is the hottest CEO on the planet right now. Probably because he went after Wall Street and now he's going after all of these Davos men who are telling me that they're communists. That's right. Men who make $10 million a year are admitting that. You know we're in trouble. Davos men, watch out, because Sidney Powell's got the goods. That's right, President Trump, you've got yourself a great lady. Born in Europe, they suddenly think that they can take over America? Jamie Dimon and Warren Buffett, you're patriots, and you better be joining Patrick Byrne and me. Every seashell tells a story. I am a female executive coach, I'm a global anchor, and we want him to sit down right next to us on the patio in Florida, so stay tuned. I really do believe he will go down in history as an American hero, because on January 6th, the Vice President, the Senators, and the House members are not going to certify these states where there is outright election fraud. We know that there has been foreign interference. He's 100% sure that there's election fraud. He's got it pinned down to 6 U.S. cities. He knows where the fraud is. There's no secret anymore, gentlemen. We know that Dominion Software, which was owned by Sequoia, was put into the United States through Smartmatic. We also know it has origins in Venezuela. We know there's a connection to China. He has a PhD in philosophy from Stanford University. I mean, how smart is that? But I am curious, being a history major, who your heroes are in American history. And I'll just throw out a quote there. I think it was Patrick Henry who said, "Give me liberty or give me death." And like masculine men, we know how to kind of get along in the cold or get along in the mountains. He's the founder of Overstock. He built a $2 billion company. Patrick had mentioned in one of his interviews, I think it was actually to Dr. Jerome Corsi, that he had not been married. I think Patrick is such a fascinating man. I'm sure he's a very busy CEO, very obviously very intellectually curious, has a lot of things to do, and needs someone who has like an equally sort of independent spirit that way. How do you decide where to take a lady on a date? If the Harvard men, their style was sort of like, okay, I'm picking 3 great restaurants, which one would you like to go to? Okay, so they can't get it wrong, right? So it's a pretty smart strategy, actually. The thing that I found about Yale men is they love to impress you with the Yale Club, because it's actually a beautiful, beautiful dining room at the Yale Club, and it is fun to go there over by Grand Central Station. So that was sort of an interesting venue. When a man from Princeton asks you out, it's usually sort of in New York anyway, it's sort of the traditional sort of, preppy in style place. Back in the day, it was like an Elio's or a Le Bouquet. I think it's still there, actually. I heard that Charlie Rose goes there on occasion. Yes, I met Charlie. That's a whole nother story, but we've talked about that before. We know there was election fraud in 6 cities: Philadelphia, Atlanta, Georgia, Milwaukee, Detroit, Phoenix area, Nevada area. And that's why everyone is so afraid of Sidney Powell. It's so funny the way the media has gone after Sidney. As soon as President Trump announced the other day that he wants to make her White House special counsel, all the men in the room, that's Pat Cipollone and Mark Meadows, freaked out. They freaked out right in front of Patrick Byrne and General Flynn. But I know from working in executive search at the highest levels in New York that when men are afraid of a woman, she's a great hire. Someone who's going to go after those men. So Dartmouth men, in my experience, they like the steakhouses, okay? So it's a little more rugged. But there's nothing wrong with that, because he used to live in Utah, and he may still have a house there, we're not really sure. I've heard that he was living overseas, possibly in places like Indonesia, for a while. I know he's been camping out at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C. Now, he has not gotten any freebies. He's paying his entire geek squad, if you will, to research this election, and he's funding this whole entire team. Libertarian. He didn't vote for Biden or Trump, but he does believe in the U.S. Constitution, and we love that because we've attended Cato events. A CEO from an advertising or media company asked you out, they could get a reservation pretty much at any restaurant. You could pick. I mean, I had one time for Valentine's Day, gave me a list of 15 restaurants that his assistant had made a reservation for us at. I chose the Carlisle Hotel dining room, and it was beautiful. And I think I got chocolates and roses and the whole 9 yards because they really do it in style there. So Patrick, you've got to tell us more. Where do you live currently? If you don't have a home, I would love to show you Florida because so many people are moving to Florida now. You might want to have a place here. Every seashell has a story, so we like to get to the bottom of people's hearts. In his own words, if he'd be willing to share more about what he looks for in a woman. We may have to say for an in-person interview, but I'll order fish. It's okay. We've got some great steakhouses here in Florida. A more serious question. I know that you had cancer in your 20s, which must have been an incredible challenge. I've even read that Patrick was on his deathbed at one time, and his mother had called a professor from one of his universities to come sit with him at the hospital. He was skin and bones, but Patrick told the professor that he was going to fight this, and he was starting to feel better. And when I see that amazing will to live in someone, you know, I have a neighbor who had 4 or 5 bouts of cancer, and she's like you, Patrick. It is so admirable to have a friend like that who just believes that they will live and fights on. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone would have the will or the desire to live. But Patrick has it, and I want to understand more. Like, what motivates you? What is your raison d'être? What's your reason for being? Saying from F. Scott Fitzgerald that I love, "You have a place in my heart no one else could have." And as a history and English major, literature was really important to me, especially American literature. But I also studied British history and European history. And I also wanted to say hello to all my Davos CEOs and chairmen and, you know, all the people who should follow my channel. I have a small but highly influential audience, a high percentage of male viewers because of the nature of my show being about leadership and Davos and Bilderberg and conferences like that. There's something about that masculine and feminine, I call it the yin and yang of leadership, that's really special. And I'd like to get more women there. Actually, I had one man from Texas who, you know, we're going to take you not on one date, but on 3 dates. And the theme of the dates is going to be a room with a view. And believe me, every restaurant was really nice. He called me a tall drink of water. How tall are you? Because he was tweeting the other day that he's 10 foot tall. So we really want to know. I stand 6 foot in my Jimmy Choos. The 5th question is, what is it that you're going to do after you save America and President Trump? All eyes on Patrick Byrne, and we're going to get him to sit down on our show and tell us a whole lot more. If his, friends want to chime in or comment on the show or in the comments, that would be fine too. So we're going to, try and learn as much as we can about Patrick. We want to make his life as exciting and wonderful and interesting as possible. The best date I ever had was with a Frenchman who took me to, I think it was Le Cirque and then La Grenouille. So, I love French restaurants. So for me, that was kind of a big deal. And my father used to like to go to La Grenouille as well. So he's had a special place in my heart for that restaurant. And there's even a dining room upstairs. Beautiful, beautiful place. Please follow my Davos blog at sandrarupp.wordpress.com. Subscribe to YouTube. Follow me on @ExecCareerCoach on Twitter. And also, CEOs and Leaders with a Heart, please contact me on LinkedIn. You can sponsor me at patreon.com. You can also call me for executive coaching. Stay tuned. Actually got into Tuck and a few other Ivy Leagues, and then ended up at Northwestern for my MBA. Dave Jonda has had Patrick on his show and has done some really great, insightful interviews that I encourage you to look for on YouTube. I want to thank my viewers for their messages. I do get a lot of messages and I read all of them. We're broadcasting from the #1 happiest, healthiest city in the USA. We also have the best environment. We believe in freedom. And 62% of my city voted for President Trump. Thanks for watching. Love you all.